To my black people from all over the world, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from wherever you're watching me from. And my black people, today I want us to discuss Chinese-African relations. Well, for the last 10 to 20 years, the relations between China and Africa have been hailed as, one of the best partnerships that Africa has ever had. But in this video today, I'm going to state that the relationship between Africa and China needs to be rethought. And this is because the relationship has become a one-sided affair of China, making a lot of money out of the relationship, whereas African countries getting, the short end of the stick. And this is because China has been dealing with African countries in a bare knuckle type of way. And this is where China is taking away the precious minerals from Africa. These are minerals such as cobalt, which are used, in the electronic vehicle manufacturing, and giving little in return. So the relationship between Africa and China is becoming a one-sided affair where China is making a lot of money and Africa getting nothing in return.
We are the poorest, we will become consumers of our own resources when it goes somewhere else and comes back to us, processed by labor, work, or even trade unions outside this continent. How can you change or reverse this reality? Why are we expecting handouts from those who are exploiting our resources and coming back to us to give us aid to solve poverty problems and other challenges we're facing? Now, our human resources being drained. The claim of African resources is not there. I would like to mention one very simple fact about the Sudan. I was told the other day that almost 4,000 medical doctors left the country in 2014. If that number could be drained in 1 year, what about the whole continent?
So, my black people, at this point, I don't want to be misunderstood to mean that China-Africa relations are not good. Yeah, this is not what I mean. But what I mean is that even among the best of friends, when familiarity and comfort sets in, it is high likely that one of the sides is likely to take the other one for granted. And I feel that we have come to this point in terms of China-Africa relations. I think the Chinese have reached a point where they feel that they have an upper hand and that they can do anything, to African countries without any repercussions. And one of the ways in which the Chinese are ripping off Africans is by selling us poor quality goods. And at one point in the past, I imported goods from China, from, the e-commerce platform, which is known as Alibaba. And what I realized is that when you initiate communication with the Chinese, the first thing that they always ask you is where you're from. And when you tell them that you are from an African country, they automatically think that you don't have money and proceed to ship in, poor quality goods to you. These are items that don't even last a week, And so this is why I'm saying that it has reached a point where China is now taking advantage of Africans by selling us extremely poor quality products. Yeah? And so, in essence, Africans don't realize a value for their money spent. And I think this is one of the things that we have to change. And most of my African people, most of the items that we are importing from China, they don't need advanced technology, to produce. And these are items like toys. And I believe that these are products that, we can produce by ourselves if we set our mind into it. Yeah. And the other day, I bought a toy for my kid, you know. And this toy, I bought it more like $5, and the following day it was damaged. Yeah. And so this has come to characterize the kind of relationship that Africa has with China. China is selling to us low quality products, and we are not realizing value for money as Africans when we do business with the Chinese. And so it is a one-sided relationship where the Chinese are the only ones who are benefiting by taking away money from us. The third way in which the Chinese are ripping Africans off is by refusing to purchase African products. So what I mean by this is that China has been purchasing products from their other trading partners, yet refusing to purchase items from the African continent. And I may give an example with macadamia nuts here in Kenya. For quite some time, the Chinese have been importing macadamia nuts, from Kenya. And then all of a sudden, and without explanation, they stopped, importing macadamia nuts from Kenya. And as we speak, we have a situation where many macadamia nuts are rotting in the markets, without people to buy. And what you must remember is that there are very many Kenyan farmers who planted the macadamia on the understanding that the Chinese are going to import them from us, only for the Chinese to stop suddenly and without any explanation importing the same from us. So this state of affairs where the Chinese refuse to purchase items or products from us has led to a situation where we have unbalanced relation between the Chinese and African countries. So, for example, the balance of trade between Kenya and China, let me give Kenya because it is where I come from. The balance of trade between Kenya and China is more than $5 billion. And this is just one African countries. Remember that we have 54 African countries. So we have a balance of trade deficit with the Chinese of $5 billion US. And although this might seem like a small amount, you have to realize that most African countries are poor and that $5 billion is such a huge amount. If the Chinese don't make amends and rectify the issues that I have raised in this video, it means that Western countries will remain the best partners for the African continent. And why do I say this? I say this because if I may give an example of Kenya and the UK, our trade relations, the balance of trade between the UK and Kenya is, in the favor of Kenya by more or less like 130 million, US dollars. And this means that the British at least are purchasing some items from us, unlike the Chinese. And if I make a comparison with the Chinese, let me, compare the trade volumes in May this year, in May 2023. And Kenya, for instance, imported products from China worth $650 million, whereas China at the same time only imported products or items worth $15 million. Yeah? So this goes to show that the Chinese are not purchasing anything from us. And so we have a situation where the Chinese are making money from us and they are only taking money from us, whereas giving nothing in return. And so I would like to see a rectification of this, and the Chinese should be more deliberate and they should treat us equally the way they treat the other trading partners like the USA. And at least they should make deliberate steps, to import some products from us so that the balance of trade between Africa and China can be more balanced. That is all I have for today. And if you'd like to watch more of this content, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Goodbye.